we made it to this little town or kind of small city in Switzerland called Davos, which is interestingly where they have often held the World Economic Conference every year. It's famous more for that and for skiing than it is for going in the summer. And summer's kind of off season over there, so it was quiet up there, perfectly beautiful. Um, we would go out in the late morning for a little walk and would often stop in a coffee shop. Swami loved to get hot chocolate and
Mm-hmm.
some little pastry or something. This was before the days when he either was diabetic and we didn't know it at the time, which is entirely possible, or he wasn't diabetic and this might have pushed him in that direction. But anyway, we enjoyed having yummy Swiss chocolate and so forth. But this one day, it was a Sunday as I recall, we were walking and we stopped into a place that was a little closer to a restaurant than just a little coffee shop. But there was live music being played. And as we sat down in our little booth where we were sitting, the the group that was playing was a uh, string quartet. So this was not rock guitars or something, but this was a cello and a couple of violins, a viola. They started playing Liebeslied. I think that's the right name, which is the song that Master based the chant Divine Love Sorrows on. I have been roaming, roaming. So that one, forsaken by thee. And it's this elaborate and extraordinarily beautiful piece. And just we just felt that Master was right there with us, and somehow that his blessing was on this. And there were no words said. There was just acknowledgement that that's pretty amazing. That Master found us in this obscure place in Switzerland and played that song for us without our even thinking to ask for it or saying anything to anyone. And Swamiji, I'll just digress slightly because we made a number of trips to Italy, kind of in the spirit that Nirmala was describing, of taking the chance to go and be with him, to travel over there and be with the other devotees in Italy and in Europe. And, in our little ways at the time to sing or to, occasionally to teach something, but more often just we were singing it in those days. We were very much involved in Ananda music. And I remember these trips would last anywhere from 1 week to 2 or maybe 3 weeks, depending on how much was involved, what else we might be doing there or where else we were traveling. And if you know how um, if you sort of take a basket of vegetables and make juice out of it, what started as this huge shopping basket full of stuff comes down to like 2 liters of juice. If you took all the air out of one of these 3 week long trips, what it would be condensed down to is about maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs of the most intensely clear vibration of blessing. And often I remember even noticing this on these trips, that occasionally there would just be like 1 or 2 conversations where it's like Master himself came to say the words through Swamiji that we needed to hear, or just the upliftment of being there to understand something that we had never understood before, or to see a vision that we had never known existed before. And and often it was creative, because Swamiji, as Nirmala was mentioning earlier, his presence was endlessly creative. He was constantly creating. He was constantly scheming up new ways to reach people, new ways to share Master's teachings. And of course, he needed hands and feet and voices and whatever. But in a sense, we needed to help a lot more than he needed our help. And so the blessing came to us for being the instruments for that. And it's not just us personally, of course. It's dozens and hundreds of other people who have been involved in these things. But we got the blessing for those years to be directly involved with him. And it was just so sweet. And as Nirmala mentioned, it was often quite challenging. Swamiji was many things, but he was extraordinarily enthusiastic. I use that word slightly humorously. He was extremely enthusiastic about getting things done quickly, getting things done well, but getting things done quickly. And so the deadlines that he imposed on himself, which were many, he also often imposed on us as well. And so we were often working late. I mean, I remember, Master in the Autobiography of a Yogi talks about staying up all night with Sri Yukteswar and the other disciples if someone was so interested as to draw from Sri Yukteswar through their questions and so forth, a discourse, a divine discourse. Well, in our case, it more often happened that we would stay up all night finishing the project. And I remember someone from Assisi telling me that how they knew when the project was finished was that the absolute deadline hit and they could take no longer doing the project. That's when the project was over, which meant the event happened, or the book finally got printed, and then you couldn't fix it anymore. You had to just go with what you printed. But many times the sun rose, and we would finish by driving to Sacramento. We would finish by sending files through FedEx or whatever it might be. But and then we would sort of try to catch up. So the balance of our lives was not always getting 8 hours of sleep every night, was not always getting a consistent hour and a half of sadhana in the morning and another consistent hour and a half of sadhana in the evening. Our work in some ways became our sadhana at those times, because we just took everything we had. But the joy in it was so profound and transformative that we would never dream of. Oops. Did we die? Okay. I guess
we lost our screen.
We lost our screen, but anyway, that's okay. So, anyway, that was my point. Really, was just the deep joy was incredible and a gift, and so what I say to all of us is two things. It would be, since many of you who are listening to this did not spend a lot of time with Swami Kriyananda, perhaps never even met him in the body at all, I say to all of you, you can meet him right now. And how you meet him is you meet him either through people who knew him, or you meet him through his words, or you meet him through his videos, or you meet him through his music. And all of those can transform your life. And yes, of course, the human dimension was very sweet and very compelling and very lovely and blissful and challenging. Yes, let's not forget challenging, because the Guru doesn't come to just pat you on the head. One of our brother disciples used a colorful expression. in reference to Swami Kriyananda's ability to discipline firmly when the situation required it. He said, he applied his boot of wisdom to my seat of understanding. So, yes, he could be vigorous and definite when the occasion required, but it was based on trying to get us to achieve our highest potential. And that requirement is still sitting there for all of us to do. So don't feel like, oh, I missed Swamiji. Well, most of us missed Master in this incarnation. So, we could all lament, we could all endlessly lament something if we wanted to. Let's use the opportunities that we have because they are very real and they are very present. And Swamiji left countless opportunities for us to tune into his consciousness. And so we just have to do the work ourselves and do that. But let's also appreciate the people. And so for you all in India, the Dhyanaji, the Jayaji, the Devarshiji, the, Hari Romaji, all of these great souls spent lots of years with Swamiji in various parts of the world, and the others there in Pune who were with him when we all moved to Pune in 2008, 2009. So, draw from them because that's your blessing and it's also their blessing to try to share everything that they learned and everything that they felt and all the growth that they had from being able to be around Swamiji as well. So, God bless you all. We're going to close by, I'm going to see if I can get both of us in the screen here. I think I can. We're going to close by chanting Om as a blessing and just ask that God and Gurus bless you with protecting light, healing light, and particularly bless all of us with divine wisdom and understanding in these days, that we may grow in the light of God and Guru. So we're going to rub our hands together. We invite you to do the same if you feel to, but let's send this blessing out. But we're also sending it particularly to you all with lots of love and joy. Om. 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 Shanti, 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 Shanti. God bless you all.
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru.